Well, hello there, my friends, and welcome back. My name is Elizabeth, and welcome to our farm. Summer is in full blast, and I must say it is stinking hot. I have not had quite the motivation, or maybe the discipline is more like it, as much as I would like. That means less cooking and bacon, more easy meals from the grill on a good day, or on a not so good day, a tray of meat and cheese. We just finished up 2 weeks of daily swim lessons plus weekly gymnastics, and this mama is tired of running around town, so I'm ready to kick my feet up on my porch, eat my weight in fresh garden vegetables every single day, and hopefully get on a regular schedule of visiting with y'all, because I have been slacking this summer while it has been so busy. I have also fallen behind on my dairy products and have accumulated quite the collection of milk. Being out of the house a lot does that, because I have less time to worry about making butter or to have a cheese pot on the stove all day long. But now it is time to get back into it with some butter, of course. I think I have made this in just about every video recently because, well, that's life and that's what we're doing. This raw local milk has, in my opinion, probably more cream than any whole milk from the store. So I like to skim most of it off and use that to make our butter. It's a win-win. We get butter and less creamy milk, which we are used to. A quick whip in the KitchenAid leaves us with two products, butter and buttermilk, and I just love to have those on hand. Since I have so much extra from being in and out of the house, I'm going to make some yogurt. I don't do this a lot, but my kids really, really love yogurt, and it has so many uses. We can use it in smoothies, and then sometimes I will flavor it for them, or if we keep it plain and I strain it, which I strain it anyway for the kids' flavored yogurt, we can just use it as sour cream. For the kids, though, I like to strain it until it is quite thick and then add in honey and vanilla. Sometimes I'll mix in or blend in some berries to make a flavored yogurt, but Isla especially really loves this. Strawberry, blueberry, she doesn't care. She loves it. So to make the actual plain yogurt, I'm just putting a gallon of milk in the Instant Pot, sauteing it and stirring it often so that it doesn't burn, scorch on the bottom, because it will, until it reaches 180 degrees. Then I just turn it off and let it cool back down to 110, 115. It takes quite a while to do that. Once it's cooled, I am adding half a cup of plain yogurt, no flavored or specialty yogurts, just plain yogurt, and mixing that in with a whisk, and then I just put it back into the Instant Pot and put it on the yogurt setting for about 8 hours. You can go up to 24 hours, but my kids will not eat it that long. And I don't like to have my Instant Pot taken up quite so long, so 8 hours is good, but that is the minimum that I do. Now this week I had an order for a couple types of cookies and some bread. I am making both no-bake fudge cookies and peanut butter cookies. I'm not sure I've ever shared the peanut butter cookies with y'all. It's not my recipe that I personally came up with. It's a very common recipe. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. It is loved by many. But my mom is the one who made them first, introduced them to me, and she's been making them for a while now. The best part is they are only 3 ingredients, and they are naturally gluten-free. All these require is mixing up 1 cup of peanut butter, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 egg. And then I like to chill them for a bit before rolling them in sugar and baking at around 375 for 12 to 15 minutes. Many people take like a fork and make the crisscross pattern, and if you do that, it squishes them down so you don't have to bake them quite as long. But I personally like them fluffy and rolled in sugar. Since I'm making several things, I am working while things cool or chill or whatever they need, and just continuing on batching all this stuff. So that means that we are moving right along to the bread. This is the same gluten-free bread recipe I've shared a few times on here. Now, I made multiple batches here, and I didn't show myself actually making the dough because I've done it over and over with y'all, but I will show you how I shape the sub rolls. So one batch makes 2 French bread shaped rolls. All I do here is divide it and then roll it on the counter and then tuck the ends and put it in this special silicone mat that helps it hold its shape while it rises and bakes. Now I'm going to let these rise in a warm place, covered, until they are puffy and almost doubled. After making up the peanut butter cookies and shaping the bread, I am moving on to the no-bake fudge cookies. These are our absolute favorite, and I make them all the time. I've made it several times on here, and this is a family recipe in an old cookbook. It's got handwritten notes. It's one of those community cookbooks that's been passed down to us, and I just think it's the best recipe ever. Now, sometimes no-bake fudge cookies can be a little temperamental, and I don't know about in your area, but in my area, everybody is very picky about their no-bakes. They're very popular, but they gotta be done right. You cannot overcook them. That is the main thing that is done wrong. They get this coating on the outside that's white and filmy. They're really dry if you do them wrong. So here is what we do. In a pot on the stovetop, I add a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, 2 cups of sugar, 1/2 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of milk, and a teaspoon of vanilla, and then I heat that until it just starts to boil. At the first hint of any bubbles or boil in that pot, I start the timer for 1 minute. Do not wait for a full boil. That is how you overcook them. Remove from the heat once you have your minute of boiling, and add a 1/4 cup of peanut butter and 3 cups of oats. Mix it all together, and then you just scoop that out onto parchment paper or wax paper. These are just the best. Now I'm throwing the bread in the oven at 350 until it is quite dark on top and reaches 210 to 215 internally. Sometimes this takes an hour, sometimes it takes longer depending on what shape of whatever I'm making. I led on, and I worked on a little project this spring of hatching some painted lady butterflies. She absolutely loved this, and I actually have a previous video from last spring or summer where a local lady who does this all the time taught us all about monarchs and painted lady butterflies, and she let everyone let one go. So we decided to try our hand at it this year, and it was so exciting. Now that these have been let go, Isla is actually begging to do it again and get some more. After a whole lot of cleaning, which is pretty much all I've had time to do, and still I haven't done it well, I decided it was time to make some homemade ice cream. I've done this several times on here lately, trying the same recipe with different methods, and let me just say, sure, you can get okay ice cream at home by taking shortcuts, but if you want that classic old-fashioned ice cream, no shortcuts can be taken. So for the rest of the time, this is how I'll make it. Seen where a lot of people will just blend everything up and then toss it into the ice cream machine, or even just do a milk, cream, sugar recipe, toss it in, or they make the whole thing and then freeze it until they're ready to make ice cream, and none of that is worth it to me. I want the good stuff, and that requires a little extra work and timing. So this just means taking your milk, cream, half the sugar, a pinch of salt, and vanilla, and you heat it until it's steaming in a pot on the stove. Make sure you stir it regularly so it doesn't burn. And then while that heats, I'm adding egg yolks, or sometimes I will do the whole egg, but I prefer just the egg yolks. And cracking all those and separating into a bowl, and then add the other half of the sugar. That gets whipped until it's lighter in color. It'll turn a really light yellow. And then once that milk is heated to steaming, you just add small amounts at a time of the milk mixture to the eggs to temper them until you've done maybe a third to a half of the milk. And then you just combine them both in the pot. Heat it to around 185 degrees while stirring it, and then chill it in the fridge for several hours. This is important. I do not like when it gets frozen before I put it in the ice cream maker, because that's how we end up with icy ice cream rather than a smooth and creamy custard ice cream. When I'm ready to make the ice cream, I just pour it all in and churn it until frozen. Now sometimes I will freeze it after it's churned to get it a little bit thicker, but you don't have to if you want like a softer ice cream. This is our favorite recipe for homemade ice cream. There's not a no churn or a simpler recipe that is this good. I just know it. This is one of those things that I will not take the shortcuts on, because I just think this is as good as it gets. Now, we did use a raw milk, and while I know that's kind of, odd, it seems to defeat the purpose. Raw is just what we have right now, and I try not to be a purist in things like this, and it is just worth it to me to do it this way, even with the raw milk, which of course at that point is no longer raw. I just try not to worry about being too particular about those kinds of things. It is delicious either way. have a few goodies here that I am unpacking. Some more vintage dishes, as if I needed any more. You can see that my Hoosier here is quite full, and this is only like my floral, summery, springy patterns. There's no winter, there's no red, there's no Christmas or fall. It's overflowing. I also got my hands on this sweet little canister and some yeast plates. Now my favorite items I have here are both for the porches. One is a sign I got on our Branson trip a few weeks back. Now my mom and I dream of running and owning our own inn one day. It sounds like such a far-fetched dream. Maybe it's slightly inspired by Lorelai Gilmore, or maybe it's just because we both love hospitality and hosting and a good historic bed and breakfast and feel called to all those things. But when I saw this sign, I just had to grab it up. I like to say that all these dreams I have, I get to build up the skills and practice and pretend that I have them now with the most important customers of all, which is my family. The other item is actually a wind chime from Vintage Metal Pieces, and this will be going out back. I wanted to dress up my milking area that is on the back porch, and I just love this out there. I'm not getting too crazy, but I wanted this little milking area to be pretty. While I dream of an old milk barn one day, I'm working with what I have, and actually this is really convenient on my back porch. The barn is just a few feet away, and being this close to the kitchen with something like raw milk is just very convenient. I am adding a few signs. My wind chime is a chandelier of sorts and lots of flowers that I will have to keep my goats from eating. Usually if grain is involved, the mamas pay no mind to anything else, but those babies, they will destroy everything, and especially flowers. And so we'll see if these last here, but I think it turned out really pretty and cute, and it really is working well for this milking season. I doubted whether this would work because nobody wants farm animals on their back porch, but we have a front porch that is meant to be like the prettier one. This is more the working porch. It has our trash cans on it, it has the grill and stuff on it, and then this milking area and the barn's right behind it. So this isn't necessarily, the most beautiful porch as it is just because of function, but why not pretty it up with some flowers when you can? Now, to continue day 534 of cleaning this house, I am bringing out some different bedding for summer. Y'all know I love to do this. And this time I didn't buy anything, and I'm getting better about that. But these are things I use all the time, just a different combination. And it seems like just the act of changing it out, rather than sometimes what I do is I will just pull all my bedding off the bed, wash it, and put it back on. So it just feels like a little summer refresh to completely change it all out and do a different color scheme, a different quilt, or pillows, or whatever. One thing I do love to collect is a random assortment of bedding. Pillowcases, especially those vintage, like embroidered ones, and if they have a crochet edging, even better. Sheet sets in different colors and floral patterns, but most of all, quilts, and I don't have too many for spring and summer, and so I'm on the lookout, but unfortunately I haven't found any new ones lately that I'm willing to pay for. So we are just going to throw this green and pink and yellow white one back on. But anyway, I love mix and match for all the beds in the house and just going through the cabinet to pick out fresh bedding and sprucing up a bedroom. Now, for a little treat this afternoon, I'm trying out a blueberry cobbler. I have been on a cobbler kick lately and trying all different recipes. Now, have y'all ever Googled or looked on Pinterest for cobbler? Holy moly, there are so many different types. Some with powder tops that you just sprinkle a powder over and then pour over butter or something. Some with like a batter that you pour on top. Some that you just drop the berries into the batter. Some with pastry. Now, I think there technically are other names for the different types, like maybe a crumble and a crisp and a buckle, and who knows what all they are. But anyway, I've just been trying all different types without getting too serious about it. Today I'm making a cobbler, a blueberry cobbler, with a batter that you pour over, and I must say this was my least favorite that I've tried lately. But it's the only one that I filmed, so here you are. It wasn't bad, it's just not my favorite. This was actually a cuppa, if you know that vintage recipe, but I added everything in a different order. So instead of doing butter, batter, berries, I did butter, berries, batter. Try saying that 10 times fast. So it was half a cup of butter melted, add in a quart of blueberries into that, and then the batter was a cup of sugar, a cup of self-rising flour, and 1 cup milk. And then I also poured vanilla directly over the berries before I poured that topping on top. Then I just baked this at 350 until a toothpick came out clean, which took quite a while. While that bakes, I want y'all to meet someone new. This here is Daisy, and she is our new Nubian doe. I am making some swaps around the farm, one being potentially swapping my herd over to full-size Nubian does rather than Nigerian dwarfs. We love our Nigerian dwarf goats, but I just really need more milk without having so many does and so many babies to sell. I'm not in the business to sell goats. It's just a natural byproduct of wanting to produce our own dairy. And so it would be nice to be able to have fewer does, fewer babies that need to find homes. We are very excited to have her. And if you have Nubian goats or know anything about them, please leave a comment and tell me what you love or don't love. I would love to know. Now let's have a piece of cobbler with ice cream on top and relax. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you'll come back next week.